Hello everyone, welcome to another Flesh and Blood video. Today, we're taking a look at the brand new heroes from High Seas, our first dual class heroes, since apparently Pirate is a class and not a talent, which is pretty interesting. We of course have the brand new Necromancer as well as the Mechanologist and the Ranger, and I waited till literally last second to record this video, so hopefully this is all of the new cards so we can get the best look at these classes. So with that said, let's get started with the video. Let's start off with Gravy Bones Shipwrecked Looter, the brand new Pirate and Necromancer hero. Gravy Bones is a 40 health, 4 intellect hero. Of course, the new classes, Pirate and Necromancer. Really interesting. He has two abilities. He is an instant to some symbol that I'm pretty sure is tapping him. So, kind of once per turn, once per rotation, theoretically, to destroy a gold token you control. And then, if you do both, you draw a card and discard a card. And then the second effect is if a blue card has been put into your graveyard this turn, you may play cards with Watery Grave from your graveyard. What are those things? Well, first of all, let's talk about his first ability. So he has some form of cycle ability, very similar to Acilio. It is the opposite, where this is a loot and Acilio's is a rummage, which means his is a little better, but you do need a gold token, which is either really easy or really hard to make. We don't quite know yet. But Gravy Bones here does have some nice card draw with that. The second ability is really interesting when we take a look at his allies, since this is another summoner type class similar to Illusionist. He does have some summons to make. We have no base pirate cards just yet. We do have a lot of necro cards though, so we will take a look at them. But overall, I think this is a really cool hero. He does get a free tutor, which we'll talk about later once we talk about the actual cards, which is pretty insane. So hopefully his allies aren't immensely broken because he can just get whichever one he wants at any time. Compass of Sunken Depths is his offhand weapon. We don't know what his main hand weapon is just yet. This is the only one we have, and there's no generic main hand, one hand weapon, so, he's got to have something. Compass of the Sunken Depths has an instant to tap it to look at the top card of your deck, which is actually pretty nice because you can use that with Gravy Bones to just see which card you are going to draw. And then the first card with Watery Grave you play each turn from your graveyard gets Go Again. This is notable because his allies, the things with Watery Grave, are actions, and they don't have Go Again. So if you play one, your turn might end. So thankfully, this will let you play either a second ally or swing with that ally the turn you play it. Again, we have no main weapon, but I do think this is a good offhand. Now, of course, since this is a new class, we don't have context of what the class does without looking at some of their cards. Gravy Bones is all about the graveyard, pretty obviously from his abilities. And he is a summoning class, so let's take a look at some of his allies. So far, we have two. The first is Chum, Friendly First Mate, who is a yellow 4-cost Pirate Necromancer action ally. Chum has 4 power and 6 health, and has 3 abilities. The first is Watery Grave, which says when this card is put into your graveyard from the arena, turn it face down. This is done so you can't infinitely play Chums. You'll only have the 3. He has a tap for an attack, and a tap at instant speed to discard a card with Watery Grave, and until the end of turn, opponents must target Chum if they are able to. What this means is that Chum is pretty much that Arclight Sentinel slot. He's there to protect your board and your own life, which is really nice considering his 6 health. They'll have to put something meaningful into the Chum to keep their turn going. Of course, they're probably going to end up trying to clear him anyway, since it is an ally. But since none of these allies have go again on their attacks, it is pretty risky to actually swing with them because, you know, your turn's probably ending right after. So more go again attacks in his deck, if we see his other allies and they don't get go again or give these go again, would probably be a pretty good idea. And we do have some go again things we can take a look at. The other thing to note, if this is tapping, when do you untap? My best guess is it should be at your end step when you draw up, but it could easily also be at the start of your turn. I don't believe they even said that yet, so we don't know. But you do have to choose if it is start of your turn to attack or to use the defense. If it is at the end of your turn, you can use the defense and attack with it in the same cycle, but on your turn, if they don't end up killing Chum, you can't swing with Chum, which you probably don't care about. So, but Chum is a really good card. He does cost 4, but when we look at actually how you're going to build the deck, that's perfectly fine because your deck's mostly going to be blues and yellows. So Chum is a pretty nice card and probably will end up being one of the best allies to play in Gravy Bones. The other ally we have is Rigor Mortis. This is a 1-cost yellow ally with 6 power and 1 health. I think all of them are probably going to end up being yellow. But we'll talk about why when we talk about our next card. All Rigor Mortis has is Watery Grave, and for 1 resource, the tap to attack. A 1 for 6 is very powerful. Technically a 2 for 6, I guess, if you're playing him the same turn. He's very easy to kill, but that's perfectly fine considering his high stat. We saw this with Vincerakai in the past, although I think Vincerakai is probably a little better of a card than this, but he still might have his room as just a really big attack that can come in towards the end of a game. The main reason why I think the deck's mostly going to be blues and yellows is because of the card Chart the High Seas. This is a 3-block Pirate Necromancer action at blue. It is free and says look at the top 2 cards of your deck. You may pitch a blue card from among them and put the rest into your graveyard. You create a gold token for each yellow card put into your graveyard this way, and it has go again. So the idea with this is you play this, you want to find a blue and a yellow card, so a blue to pitch to gain 3 resource, and a yellow Watery Grave ally. Chart the Seas being a blue now has went to your graveyard, which means from the Gravy Bones ability, you can use that 3 resource you just generated off the Chart the High Seas to play one of your allies from your graveyard, which should hopefully have go again from your compass, letting you swing with it. So Gravy Bones can get some pretty good 2-card hands that way. Say you play this, hit I guess another one, you're just going to pitch it anyway. And like a Rigor Mortis, that is a 1-card 6. If you hit. It is luck-based, you do need to hit, but it would be a 1-card 6 if you hit something cheap like a Rigor Mortis. If you have your Tunic up, you can come in, you can play Chum, which you're probably a Tunic deck since this seems like a pretty slow deck, even though you are milling yourself a bit. With Chart the High Seas, you're probably playing 3 of this card, because this card is very good, a very good gold generator, because if you hit Watery Grave allies, you get Gravy Bone effect, you get Gravy Bone gold tokens that you can sack to filter through your deck and find what you actually need. Put more allies in the graveyard, even put blues in your graveyard if you need to. So, Chart the High Seas is a very powerful card. Since these are the main core, the rest of the cards I have here are just cards I think are pretty good. We do need to talk about the other reds that we saw. Hoist 'em Up is a part of us. I guess I would consider these a cycle, these 3 rares. They all do something if we tap an ally. Hoist 'em Up is a 0 for 4 block that gets 1 extra defense. I think this one is going to be played a lot. Paddle Faster is a 0 for 4 3-block, which is actually really good. That gets go again. Again, if you are a go wide tools can really help this deck, especially in something like the Mirror maybe. You probably do play Paddle Faster, especially because it is a 3-block. So again, a very good card. And then the last one was Board the Ship, which just gets overpower. I don't think this one's that good. It's a popper if that ever matters, but it's probably not the best. Pretty good and limited though. And other than that, the only other card that I think... honestly, the only card that you probably include in your deck that isn't from High Seas that we know of right now with just seeing these cards is Call to the Grave. Call to the Grave is that tutor I talked about earlier. If you don't know what this does, it was from Rosetta. It's pretty much an entomb for magic. You search your deck for any card and you put it into your graveyard. The reason why that's important is because Call to the Grave lets you search your deck for a watery grave ally. Say you want to get Shaman play because you know they're going to have one really big attack. You're playing against Bravo or something. You need Shaman play to protect yourself next turn. So what do? You play Call to the Grave. You put Shaman in your graveyard from your deck. Then, because Call to the Grave is a blue card, Gravy Bones lets you play Chum from your graveyard this turn. So Gravy Bones himself just has 3 free tutors for any ally he wants because of Call to the Grave, which is very, very powerful. If you want to play Gravy Bones, we don't know it's in the Gravy Bones Armory deck right now, which is a very good thing. I'm glad they're actually making an Armory deck for the hero that is 2 classes that are only in this set. Call to the Grave is very potent. It probably won't be in the Armory deck, and it would probably be the first card I'd look for the Armory deck. Some other cards to note. If there is no good helmet, Crown Dominion gives you a gold token. All 3 of these heroes really like gold tokens. The Ranger will most likely not play Crown Dominion, but I can easily see the Mechanologist and Gravy Bones here both playing this card for a free gold token. We had talked about Board the Ship as another ally-based card, so let's talk about some more gold token things. Starting Stake, not good if you have Crown of Dominion, but is a card that can generate you some gold tokens if you don't have any. Wage Gold is a card that's a little more important when we talk about the Mechanologist, but it is just an attack that can give you some gold. Pay Up has gone up a little bit recently. This one gets Overpower if it's attacking a hero who controls a gold token, so good into your Pirate Mirrors. And if they control the gold, you take it from them. And if they don't control a gold, you just do 1 damage to them on hit, so pretty powerful. And then finally, this is a deck based on your graveyard, so something like Gravekeeping could remove key allies you're waiting to play later. I could easily see a world where some decks who have the ability to slot in Gravekeeping, something like Ira or something like Syndra, might slot these in, or even something like the Illusionist like Enigma. Any deck like that, KO, probably can play Gravekeeping. Any of these decks that can easily slot in a 1/5 to have some cards into this matchup just to help them a little more. Gravekeeping is really the only potent graveyard hate right now in the game, but I could easily see us getting another one. But overall, I think Gravy Bones has a really nice kit. This is going to be the longest section of the video, so sorry if I made you sit through this whole long part. The next 2 are going to be pretty fast, but since Gravy Bones is a new class, I thought it was important to take a look at his whole new toolkit that we know so far. But next, let's take a look at our brand new Mechanologist hero. Now we have Puffin Hightail. Puffin is a 4 intellect, 40 health pirate mechanologist hero. She has the abilities Action, Tapper, destroy a gold token you control, create a golden cog token, and the second time you crank each turn, draw a card. Golden cogs are just crank, and when it enters with 1 steam counter, and at the start of your turn, destroy it unless you remove 1. I recorded this clip a lot earlier, before we knew that Bankbreaker was a flip card. Now that we know the max Armory deck cards, I had to re-record this segment. But all of my things I say are the same. For the actual hero ability, I really like it. Turning your gold into golden cogs, I think, is probably the best of the 3. And you'll see that especially when we take a look at the golden cog synergy cards. Of course, we haven't looked at the Ranger yet, but it's better. This is better than that one. The second time you crank each turn, draw a card is very easy to just get free value because you'll probably play 1 crank card in a turn and then make the cog. For the equipment, Crown and Dominion seems like a slam because the free gold token at the start means you get 1 free cog. Your Tekla Foundry Heart seems just like your best option. This is a pretty aggressive deck. And then Heavy Industry Gear Shift just to gain extra action points if need be. This could be a different shoe in the future. We'll have to take a look whenever we get some more of the set. Of course, we don't have her weapon. Hanabi Blaster does seem like a good option, though, because you're probably boosting a lot when you're playing this deck. Although that could not be true when we look at Sky Skimmer, because this is an aggressive mech attack without boost. But for the rest of the deck, Boom Grenade, Backup Protocol Red, Dissolving Shield, Cerebellum Processor. These are all free crank attacks. Master Cog and Fast and Furious are just some extra ways to put counters on your crank items. Penetration Script just for some more damage. Pretty basic cards we already have. Mainly, I want to look at the two new cards, though. Sky Skimmer is a 0 for 4 3-block that has a once per turn instant to tap a cog you control. Notably, it's any cog, not a golden cog, so there could be some cards that are just normal cogs we can put in our decks. We give this +1 or go again, which means that we can have it come in 4/5, or we can have it come in as a 0 for 4 go again, which is very good. If this is how they're taking mech this set, I think that's perfectly fine. But I worry that some of them might be a little too weak. And I hope we do get some boost cards. Golden Skywarden's the other card we have. This is a galvanized card. It's a pirate mech card. When it defends, we can destroy an item we control. If we do, it gets +1. If the item we destroyed was a golden cog, we can destroy another item and we make a gold token. And then that keeps chaining, or if we keep breaking golden cogs, we keep getting gold tokens. So this is a good way to refresh your gold tokens to use for your ability, especially because on turns you crank with one item, you probably want to be using Puffin's ability so you can get another crank to draw the card off of her effect. Gold Skywarding can just be a good defensive card to do with that. And I do really like Sky Skimmer as well because it works really nicely with Puffin, especially in a deck where if we're just playing a lot of the old mech cards with boost, and boost isn't really the thing you're mainly doing, Sky Skimmer is just a card that can still be played in the deck because you can make the cog and then give it go again or the +1 to Puffin. Some of the other cards I think are okay with her. Wage Gold, not because Wage Gold is good, but because I hope this set sees the return of Universal. I talked about this a little bit in the last segment, but Universal seems like a really good mechanic for this set because not only are we getting 2 brand new classes, but also we have Mechanologist. So if they want to put any boosting in this set, it's going to hurt the mech to play generic cards. So having some things universal will let you have more cards in your deck that you can actually boost. And then just some other items. Clamp Press was here. This actually shouldn't be here because we can't play wrenches anymore. So let me get rid of that one. Null Time Zone is another 0-cost crank item. That's just a little bit of extra disruption. I think this one's just a slam dunk in this deck. I don't see a reason why it wouldn't be. And then Steam Canister, even though it isn't a crank item, can let us put some steam counters on crank items later if we want to keep a golden cog around for our golden Skywarden. But other than that, I think Puffin is pretty cool. Personally, she is my favorite of the 3 new heroes. You'll see the Ranger in the next segment. Again, I had to re-record this one. I tried to make it a little faster too, because I feel like I could have done it a little faster. So that's Puffin. I think Puffin's really cool. Let's move on to the Ranger hero. Finally, we have the brand new Ranger hero, Marlynn Treasure Hunter. She as well is a 40 health, 4 intellect hero. She is a pirate and a ranger. She has an action to tap her, destroy a gold, create a goldfin harpoon in your hand, and go again. And the second ability is whenever you draw a card during your action phase, you may put an arrow from your hand face up into your arsenal. That second ability is kind of insane, not gonna lie. The first ability is pretty good. Goldfin harpoons are yellow, 2 power, not blocking arrows. They are yellow, but they cannot be pitched. If it would be put into your graveyard, you remove it from the game. You can, I'm pretty sure, play these in your main board if you wanted to. I wouldn't. They're pretty bad. They're whatever. They're here to give her something to generate arrows if she needs it. She definitely has the weakest tap destroy a gold effect, but sometimes you draw all pumps and you need an arrow, and this is the arrow you can fire. The second effect is sort of the main thing that people care about. Whenever you draw a card during your action phase, you may put an arrow from your hand face up in your arsenal. Okay, so Death Dealer lets you load an arrow and then lets you draw a card. Cool. New Horizons says if you have a face-up card in your arsenal, you have an extra arsenal. So Death Dealer loads a face-up arrow, then draws you a card. So you have the face-up arrow for the second arsenal slot, and then Marlynn says, oh, you just drew a card during your action phase. How about you put an arrow into your arsenal? So Death Dealer becomes a bow that loads 2 arrows. 3 of a kind, the one for draw 3 gives you 3 Marlynn triggers. Of course, there's no way to get 3 arsenal slots right now, but playing 3 of a kind gives you 3 Marlynn triggers. The first one will load an arrow face up. That will turn on your New Horizon. The second one will just get loaded because you have the second arsenal slot. The third one will fizzle, whatever. But you drew 3 cards and you loaded 2 arrows. Of course, we have Garganian Tome as another draw. I don't know if this will see much play, but it could. Who knows? Of course, you think, well, we need go again arrows for that strategy to work. And we have a few. Falcon Wing and Bolt and Shot are realistically the only 2 go again arrows, and Bolt and Shot isn't even go again all the time. This was a lot better in Lexi when she could load 2 arrows because she could give the Bolt and Shot +1 power. So we don't have many go again arrows. So this idea for the deck might not even be that good. We have ways to give the arrows go again, yes, but loading 2 arrows automatically when none of them have go again doesn't really hit the best. So, in a world where we get more go again arrows, this build of Marlynn is incredibly powerful. We also have a card like Rain Razors that can help us on go wide turns. The reason why this is here in the main board slot, the main thing I want to talk about, is because 3 of a kind is notably not banned. Death Dealer, of course, is still around, but they're not going to get rid of Death Dealer if Azalea is still in the format. So, they're probably not going to make that many go again arrows, but even if we get like 2 more, I can easily see a world where you slot 9 Bolt and Shots, 6 Falcon Wings, maybe 9 total of the new arrows, whatever they are, and then you just play these double load cards and then go again arrow, bigger arrow every turn, and you just overwhelm the opponent. And I think that's easily a possibility. We have no new equipment for Marlynn, so we have no idea what her weapon does. It should be a cannon, because King Shark Harpoon wants you to activate a cannon, unless there's other cards that are cannons, but considering the card art shows some similar harpoon that she has in her art, I guess they're considering these cannons, so that's probably her weapon. So we'll have to see once we get more of the set, but for this draw, go again arrow idea, I think that's a pretty powerful ability. Now, from the cards we do have, though, I think they're trying to set Marlynn up to be this go tall deck. Of course, I just talked about it. King Shark Harpoon. This is a 2-for-6 Pirate Ranger arrow. It has the ability Go Fish, which I think is just relating to have fired a cannon. It's one of those keywords that mean something in context to a general whole ability. When this hits a hero, they choose a card in their hand to reveal, which that could also be the Go Fish effect. We don't know. This is the only Go Fish card we have. If the card they showed is an attack action, they discard it and you make gold. If you've activated a cannon this turn, instead you look and choose the card. So this is some nice disruption. It is a 2-for-6, which means it's hard to play, but if they do want Marlynn to be this go tall deck, this is a very potent arrow for that deck. Very similar to Battering Bolt, making our opponent discard all cards that aren't actions. The last card we have for the new Ranger is Big Game Trophy Shot. This is a 2-for-4 pump that if it has Harpoon in its name, King Shark Harpoon does, Goldfin Harpoon does. The arrow gains on hit make it gold, and then Big Game Trophy lets us draw and discard a card, which will trigger the Marlynn. And then it has go again. So setting up this go tallish Ranger deck, I think, is also a possibility. Of course, Ranger has been go tall in the past. Azalea is go tall. There's a lot of stuff that could happen. They could obviously try to do both, give us good go tall stuff. I mean, Ranger already has a ton of that. And still give us some go wide stuff. Maybe one more go again arrow. Maybe another board pump type effect. Could be pretty interesting. But I think these two modes for Marlynn are pretty important. They are not important, but are pretty powerful from the stuff we have so far, since we are Rangers, mostly a go tall class right now, and this go wide strategy seems very potent if we get a few more cards. But overall, I think Marlynn is pretty good with either build that they end up pushing for her. Of course, you have things like your Merciless, you have all of the Blood Rot stuff, all the Plague stuff that affect her. So all pretty good. And I can't wait to see what other cards we get in High Seas. Overall, I do really like the theming of the set. I think the class choices were pretty good. Of course, Necro is a new class, but Mechanologist and Ranger have gone the longest without receiving a new class or a new hero. Ranger's last new hero was all the way back in Outsiders, and Bright Lights, the set after, was the last time Mech got a new hero. My best guess is that next set, well, obviously next set is Mastery Pack Guardian, but after that, it's probably a Brute, so I'm a little more excited for that one. But until then, though, I think these three heroes are really good. We have a new aggro deck, theoretically, in Puffin Hightail. We have a new control / probably just control, actually, deck in Gravy Bones. And we have a new either aggro or mid-range deck in Marlynn. But with all of that, that is going to be the end of the video. Sorry if my explanations were a little too long, but you know how we do it on this channel. Next week, I'm going to try a different editing program, so there might be a little more edits in these videos. I don't know what I would need to edit, but I'm going to try some stuff out. Hopefully you like it. As well as I might extend into some more variety content. I don't know if that'll take the normal Thursday uploads or if that'll take up a different day, but do expect to see some different content coming on the channel at some point in the future. But with all of that, I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.